We're learning Leilui Nishmas Bas Yefega Bas Yisrael, Levi ben Yosef, for the refuah shlema of Eliza Chana Bas Naomi, Shoshana Yona Bas Edel. And today, a little bit extra tefillas. There's a woman from the community that's starting chemotherapy today, and I want us all to dive in very strongly for her refuah shlema. Mamash Chazak. And her name is Hila Bat Ilana. Please have that name in mind, Hila Bat Ilana. The week is sponsored by Yoni and Daniela Berg in honor of their new home. Be'ez Hashem, may it go smoothly and successfully. Blessing it to be a home filled with warmth and love, family and friends, Torah and mitzvahs for years to come. Amen. Okay, chevra, new letter today by the tzaddik. We're on daf. Thank you so much. We're on daf Yud Bet, where the letter is the seventh letter, and this is written somewhere in 1972. 1971 or 72, it doesn't give the month here, so I'm not sure if it was the end of 71 or the beginning of 72. From here, we actually have a very clear picture of what the tzaddik was, what Reb Usher was asked, what the letter to him was, which is something we could all identify with, and that is, why do bad and disturbing thoughts come to us right when dafka we set ourselves up to be in a holy place? מחשבות, foreign thoughts, bad thoughts, disturbing thoughts, confusing thoughts that come to us when we're in a place of darkness is no big chiddush. That's just a natural evolution of how we operate. But that it should dafka come to us, these types of thoughts, dafka when we're in such a place of refined kedusha, can tear people down. I've told you this story many times about it. Rosh Hashanah in Melbourne, one of the most challenging Rosh Hashanahs of my life, when out of nowhere, all the worst thoughts in the world were all morning. It's the first day of Rosh Hashanah. All morning, it's the weirdest thing, and you're wondering, I don't get it. I came towards you, Hashem. I've come now to be here, to taste holiness, to taste love. And dafka there, the machshavas, the thoughts, come and trickle. Like maybe, perhaps for half of you right now, sitting here in a shiur. I just said that to see if I can get your attention. Right? It could be right now. I don't know. These things happen all the time, and they start to lead very negative. They start to inject within us very negative thoughts about ourselves. We may start wondering, wow, I knew I was a piece of work. I didn't just realize to what extent. And we start thinking of the worst thoughts about ourselves because we say to ourselves, well, I must be crazy. I must be meshuggah. Why? Because I'm coming here to Kedusha, and look who I've become. Look at me. Mazeh. Everyone else is as the shackle. Everyone else looks like they're frum. Everyone else looks like they're holding. And yet me, I must be the only one that's going through this. So, let's look at the bottom of Daf Yud Bet and the seventh letter to see how the tzaddik, how Reb Usher addresses this. Ari, do you have? Yeah, let's give pages down here for those that need. Okay. And a big welcome to our brother, Dr. Ari Greenwald, who's with us this morning. But you're, Baruch Hashem, it's so rare, it's so frequent that it feels just natural from Toronto for now. Lichvod. The tzaddik says like this, Michtavchem higiani berega hanachon. Your time came at the perfect time. Your letter came at the perfect time. V'tikvati she'Hashem yiten li hamachshavot hanechonot v'hamilim hamatimot la'anot lichvodo. My hope is that Hashem gives me the proper thoughts and words that were shayach right now to answer your honor. Kedei sheyuchal להתגבר על המחשבות הזרות המבלבלים את מוחו. In order to overcome these foreign thoughts that confuse the mind, hametashtashim, letashtash means to blur. Thank you. Velokchim et zmano bechinam, and they I love that language over there. They basically these machshavas are also ganavim. Living rent free, exactly. It's exactly living rent free, right? Maybe he coined it, I don't know, did he coin the term? And what happens when you have these rent-free thoughts that come and trigger you in the crazy, right? And they take over all your thoughts, right? and you fall בפח, ועל ידי זה נופל ברשתם, and you fall in the reshet, you fall in the net. כמו שאמר דוד המלך עליו השלום, הוציאה ממסגר נפשי. הוציאה ממסגר thoughts. הוציאה ממסגר נפשי. What is מסגר, chevra?
A welder, a frame.
Here in this context, it's an enclosement, meaning it's a frame, but it's also something that is considered to be a trap. So David HaMelech says, "Hotzia mimazger nafshi." There are thoughts, there are things that are causing me to feel that I'm being trapped. Mamish thoughts that make me feel like once I'm in them, I realize, my God, I'm like a fish in the water. I'm like
hamster wheel.
What's that?
The hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
That's very good actually. Yeah. Totally. And David HaMelech is saying, I know, I call you out on this. This is part of the game, Hashem. And I want to figure out a way to get out of let's go with what you just said right now, to go out of the hamster wheel, to figure out a way that it doesn't have to be like that. Because it seems that naturally that's the mahalach, that's like the natural evolution of how I conduct myself. So Reb Usher is saying, what was David HaMelech really davening for over here? This is a beautiful perush on these three words from Tehillim, הוציאה ממסגר נפשי. שיתפלל שיוכל לבוא לדרגה כזו, he was davening, that he should be able to reach such a level, להבין מהות החיים. Like we've learned so many times from Reb Usher, to understand the essence of what life is all about. כדי לבוא לשלמוס מציאוס הקדושה. In order to come to a reality that's basically the completion of a realistic life, of the reality of Kedusha in life, which we'll explain in a minute what that means. Ki rak al yedei metziut ha-bitul, only through bitul, the metzius of bitul, she'adam yachol levatel et atzmo liot nichna, that a person can mevatel themselves to become nichna. What would be a good word here for nichna, for today?
Submitted.
That's true. Those are all true words. But what does it mean? Bitul, that brings you to a place of nichna. Surrendering. Even though I know that, unfortunately, that term was hijacked by a different religion, right? Surrender. But it's time to reclaim it. And it's a very powerful imagery when you have this person that he's saying that I realize that the only way I could really do anything in this world is through the metzius of bitul, that I can mevata myself to surrender. Now in this case, what does this mean? Fighting evil thoughts. How do I surrender when it comes to evil thoughts? What does my nature tell me when I catch myself having evil, dark, confusing thoughts? Fight it. Fighting back. How do I fight back?
Acknowledge it's not who you are.
No, you're talking about the good way. I'm talking about how do we do it in a way that's really detrimental? What's that? Try to think good thoughts. What else? Repress it. Or just think like it's really holy to say, I must be a behema, you know.
No, just let the thought be. Just acknowledge it. And
no, you're talking about you're talking about it in a good way. You're right. I'm talking about how do we do it? How do we normally do it? That's not productive. That's not good. Like, what's our natural reaction to them?
This must be the true me.
Huh? This must be the true me. Andrew's saying the same thing. Yeah. And then this brings me to get down on myself. I guess this is the real me. I guess I wasn't made for it to be the guys that just is able to have pure thoughts. And then it's amazing that when we have pure thoughts, none of us really say, well, this must be the real me. We're always like, well, how long is this going to last? When it comes to the bad thoughts, it's like, this home territory, right? Now he's going to explain this. What type of bitul is Reb Usher saying is something that we would normally say, but what differentiates? Think about this for a second. What differentiates us from animals?
Speech.
Speech is the way that the Targum understands. Vayi adam lenefesh chaya. Bechira. Sorry.
We're not on pure instinct. Like we don't have to be on pure instinct. We can actually take a step back.
Yeah, das. So basically das, right? Or the potential for das, I would say. The potential for das, right? So look what he says here. But when it comes to bitul, there's something to really learn from the animal. כמו הבהמה, שרגילה עם בעל הבית שלו, היא משועבדת בלי שום נטייה לאחרים, רק לבעליה. I was staying on a moshav recently, and it's a beautiful moshav. I was staying there overnight, and it was so peaceful during the day. It was amazing. At night, I had to go out and do an errand, and in this peaceful, amazing place, suddenly I must have driven into a shetach of that. It's just that's shayach. It's a private property. Not seeing anything. There's no lights or anything. And this cute dog that we saw during the day came like a viciously attacking, and it's amazing. The dog, what was it doing? What was it trained to do? Trespassing, protection, right? It knows, it has no bilbul, who its balabait is and what its shetach is. And an animal is trained to do this. He's saying over here, אותו דבר צריך האדם לעבוד בעצמו. The same thing a person has to work on himself, שירגיש שמציאותו מבוטלת לגמרי. Like an animal has complete bittul to its owner, so too a person has to work on himself so much, and I know this is a high level, chevra, but we're here for the big leagues, that a person has to feel that his mitzias is completely mevutal to its owner. Whose owner? To the Rebbeinu Shalom. V'chol she'ifat chayav tzricha liyot. The whole aspiration of my life has to be, גם אם המחשבות הזרות הן במקומות הקדושים, ששם מכין את עצמו להתפלל. והן בכל מקומות עבודתו כדי להכין מחייתו. צריך לחיות עם אותם המחשבות הזרות כדי שיכיר את ערכו, ערך העין שלו. We're going to go over all this in a second. דווקא על ידי המחשבות הזרות שהאדם הוא המציאס שלהן. אז דייקה יכול למצוא את מציאוס הקדושה ההופכת את המחשבות הזרות. Okay. This is big. This is very big. It's an amazing thing. The machshava zara. I'm just like paraphrasing now, and I'm not even sure that I'm so medayik. It's what I get from this. The machshava zaras are gifts. They're amazing gifts. How could you say they're gifts? It's machshava zaras. Why? How could they be a gift? Because the machshava zara, if you remember a Torah like this, and you have a machshava zara. So how does it unfold as a gift in life? What do you guys think? I want to hear also this. There's a lot of action here. Also the end of the room too. I want to wake up the end of the room.
Take action and push it out.
Sorry?
You have the opportunity to get a mitzvah, pushing it out, taking action against them.
That's a lower level. Let's go a little bit higher level of action, like or view it as a gift. How could it be a gift?
That the Ramchal says, like, what you struggle with the most is actually what your purpose is here to do. So it's actually revealing to you what you need to actually work on.
So we're going to get to that a little bit later in this letter. He doesn't quote the Ramchal, but it's a known mahalach by Reb Usher Freund L'tzato, nachon. Ari?
The challenges that you face help bring out a strength within you that you can't find otherwise.
How do I remember that dafka b'shas ma'isa? It's true what you're saying. The chap is, how do I remember that when it's happening to me live? Right? That's the whole game here. The whole game here is that this is going to happen to you. This is going to happen. This is going to be your mitzias. You're going to go through this. That you thought you're holding, and then dafka in that place, it's dafka going to come to you right there. Now, what's Reb Usher saying about this right now? He's saying, how else are you truly going to discover mitzad your bechira that your real value mitzad atzmecha is ayin? How else are you going to realize that? Other than to the core like this. Eli, your hand's not up.
I put it up.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, he says ayin is just this huge piece of all Reb Usher's thought, and where you get to it is not by thinking through this intellectually. He says tzarich lichios imosam machshavot. You got to live with them.
With ima machshavos.
They're your neighbors. They're not going away. They're not leaving. They're living rent free, and you can't kick them out. And you don't want to, actually. They came for a reason.
Right.
And he'll go through different ways of dealing with them. But the first thing you have to do is, they're there.
And when you acknowledge it, that's when you have a chance
Right.
to taste bittul, actually.
Correct.
Like, I just want to go over the last few lines here. Daika, you see the last 4 lines? Daika על ידי המחשבות הזרות, שהאדם הוא המציאות שלהם, אז דייקה יכול למצוא את מציאות הקדושה ההופכת את המחשבות הזרות. It's almost like, I think what he's saying here is like, don't look for this mlechatchila, but they will happen anyway.
Yes.
It'll be there. You don't start the day saying, bad thoughts, because this will bring me to bittul. You could start the day off with an hour of hisbodedus, and bringing coffee to your wife and doing everything perfect then, and then, boom, and you're standing there like, are you kidding me? So the thought is coming to say to you, listen, you thought you were such a geshmak. You thought you were holding. You thought you were really, you have this down, So I'm just coming here to remind you for a second, how did you have the koyach to do anything you did this morning? How did you have the koach to do anything you did for the first 3 hours of the day that seemed to be so beautiful and blissful? Where did that koach come from? Me'ayin yavai ezri. From ayin is the really only place that your help came from. Anything good we've been privileged to do in our lives, anything today that we've been able to do that's good, if we forget that the makor of the koach and the makor of the bracha is just because Hashem gave it to us, we'll get a zetz that'll wake us up and be like, how could that be? Well, you really credited the whole geschäft to you. So I'm just here to remind you, machshava zara, that you're able to, just like that, be plucked out of it for a second. Once you forget, who even gave you the ability to do all of this? Me'ayin yavai esri. From ayin comes your ezer. And it's like Eli said, this concept of the value of ayin is a theme throughout this whole sefer. And it's his big leagues. It's very hard. Not all people really, I would say, would feel that this approach should be the way that we learn about avodas hanefesh. And maybe some of them are right for themselves. And maybe even in this room, it's not all of us could really find ourselves in a teaching like this. But I know that everyone in this room would do anything in the world to stop hating ourselves. Everyone in this room would do anything that they could to stop self-persecuting themselves. And if this opens up a gateway for me to stop hating myself and to stop adding additional damage to my neshama, not to my neshama, but to my self-value and all that it includes in it, we would give it a good shot. Nachon? Okay, so now let's see how he continues. How does a person, he says it without saying it here, it's very interesting. How does a person control his thoughts? You can't. So how could you control them? So he says like this. Ubazeh, through this, shu sholet al machshavotav. This is actually how you sholet on your machshavas. V'hu makir et erko. Recognizing your true value adds up to what? Shlita ala machshava. Control over the thoughts. Okay, so let's unpack this chevra. What does recognizing my own value have to do with controlling my thoughts? We said you can't control the thoughts, it's true. You can't control the thoughts, but what could you control? How I respond to them. The thoughts are going to be there anyway. The question is, what do I do with it once it comes on? And for that, it is possible to control them. You hear the difference? The Ani, the Baal Gaiva says, I'm going to be so holy that I'm going to control these thoughts from stopping to appear. Hatzlacha Rabba. Good luck. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. But what could I do? I could continuously remind myself why these thoughts are coming in the first place and what their real goal and purpose are, so that I understand that when I get attacked again by a shetef machshavot zarot, a flood of foreign and evil and disturbing and confusing thoughts and blurry thoughts that blur my vision, that at least then I have a bechira. Well, wait a second. I remember why you're here. I recognize your value. Then you become a sholet on what the machshavas do to you. How are we doing so far? Schwach. Not so convincing.
Told us not to talk on this.
No. Go out for 10 minutes and come back in.
That has not happened to me in 30 years.
That's because they said,
You were allowed to
go out. They didn't say come back in 10 minutes.
Come back either.
Yeah, Ali.
I just want to throw out something that maybe people have experienced in this Indian, like when you go see a tzaddik, that's usually like also a time where craziest thoughts come.
Oh, flashbacks. Ellie, don't do this to me. I have so many examples.
You know the tzaddik, he's not, you know, he can see it, but he's not interested in it because he's interested in the shama.
Right,
And he's interested in your good, and that's what he Bahama sees because he's a tzaddik.
right.
But we have that billboard that we think he's seeing all the other stuff. That's what he's focusing on. But it's from experience. It's shiur. He's only looking on the shama.
Yeah. Remember I told you about the story about these girls that were in Rav Ginsburg had a midrashah. I think he still does, and they used to have like an American gap year program even for a few years, and the girls learned that the tzaddikim, especially Rav Ginsburg, the real Kabbalists are able to see everything about you just looking at your forehead, and after a while, like the Hanhala realized that all the girls somehow, whenever they came into shiur, they were seeing like this, or figuring out ways, or they had hats that were like covering up. But like Reb Eli is saying, the tzaddik's not interested in it. Of course he sees it, but that doesn't. Oh, is that why you? That's why you read that? Right? In the Pnimiyas Advarim, the tzaddik's not interested in it. The Ribbon Shleilam, of course, Lavdil Alfei Avdolos, there's no Inyan to try to make you feel that your inner mishagas is is the real you. Is the real you. This takes a lot, but this line over here means that you makir your erech, that you recognize your value. What value? Of ayin. Then, when these machshavas come up, you're like, well, I'm nothing anyway. Meaning, mitzad atzmi, I don't hold from that anyway. So these machshavas zaros fall into what? Into a bin. What's it called? It's also the ayin bin. If all the good stuff I think about myself and pride myself in also eventually get thrown into there, then all these machshavas zaras also go over there, and you have an opportunity. Empty the bin. Empty the trash bin, yeah.
There still seems to be the question that you asked before, which is, sometimes people do things that are terrible for them because they feel worthless. So the sense of ayin doesn't always lead you in the moment to feeling like, so I'm going to give myself over to Kadosh Baruch Hu and he's going to help me through this. Sometimes that sense of ayin can also lead you to very dark places.
Then it's not ayin. And that has to be I'm very glad you brought that up. Then it's not ayin. What would it be?
Brother, other.
Huh?
Brother, other.
Yeah, it's the other side. It's the sitra achra. Because then he's like, oh wait, this is great. Teref. How do you say teref? Pray. This is great pray. Well, the guy's vulnerable. The guy's vulnerable. He doesn't really understand how these things work, so he's going to go into this place of ayin, but I'm going to...
Down the rabbit hole.
Right, exactly. And I'm going to let him think that what he's doing is... So we have to be very clear. If the totza'ah, if the result of this avoda brings you to a place of what you're basically describing, it's not ayin. It's the other side. It's the sitra achra, yeah.
I saw in the Shirat David, Erev Shabbos, Mem Gimel, I think. It's a typical Rabbi Nachman Torah, right, where it says, if the whole purpose of the Sitra Achra is to try to pull you down, but if you're being pulled down, it's only because you're holy. So when you're in that moment, in other words, why is that happening to you? You're trying to be a good Jew. That's why it's happening to you. And like reminding yourself.
That's what he's saying. That's
exactly,
Hakara Sa'erech. It's the same
really
thing.
Exactly this Torah. And
it's beautiful.
Ketrugim, and how do you flip them over? By just acknowledging them, stare it in the face, and be like, I see what you're trying to do.
Right.
Me.
I think it's very similar to what he's
I think
saying.
it's exactly this.
ובזה שהוא שולט על מחשבותיו והוא מכיר את ערכו, אז יכול לראות שהוא חי עם מציאוס הסיבוס, מפני שתכליס הבריאה שהאדם יכיר את ערכו, שהוא בבחינס בהמה. He's saying it straight out. But but how come we're not offended that he's saying that like explain to me, chevra, why aren't we offended that he says that the tachlis of the bria is that a person realizes his own value, that mitzad atzmo, he's just like a behema. Because it's true. You're calling us all behemoths?
Call myself a behema.
Ah, okay. Right. Maybe not a behema gasa, meaning it's a behema. Behema mitzad the fact that mitzad atzmeinu, just
We're also saying
us.
that being a behema is not a bad thing, right? 'Cause
Well,
you're saying-
exactly. Being a behema on the level that of how we described it in the beginning.
Right.
We're saying that the behema knows I have complete bittul just to my owner, and no one else can come and steer me away from anything. On that level, yes. Wildkeit, wild, that we're not saying is like, the goal over here of recognition. But it's this amazing opportunity to invite a new understanding of bittul and ayin into the program here. And it's very, very important. Because look, we go through these things all the time, these machshavas zaras. These are things shebechol yom. We wake up in the morning, kisei tzelam elcha malevecha. Sometimes these thoughts get us before even Maida'ani. Sometimes even before Maida'ani.
Usually been modem.
But I'm saying even before. Sometimes even before. The shaila is, can you laugh? Part of you says, why do I have to start the day off like this? Why can't I just wake up in the morning and believe that today could be beautiful? And the goal is to, of course, get there. But these things happen all the time. These machshavas zaras, the balbalot, metashtashot happen all day and sometimes throughout the day. Maybe that's why Rabbi Nachman says that a person has to mischadesh not just every day, but a few times a day. A few times a day you have to go through this. Yeah, Eli.
I was going to say, David HaMelech said, "Behemos hayisi amar."
He's coming up to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't read ahead.
Yes, you did. You learned this a few times already.
But I just in my fish. But he says, "Sha'adam hu hametzias shelahem." Right? This is what it is to be a human being. Basically, what Reb Usher does is he makes us kivyochel comfortable with being really uncomfortable. And you can't. We want a life. I want it easy. I want to feel like I'm a good guy. I want to feel right. But it's not the work. It's like it's such a chaval not to do the work.
Yeah.
And because I'm human, I'm in this body. I was born. I was birthed into the world. This is what's going to happen. But the good news is I got a lot of people around me. It's going to happen to all of us. Right? We're all in the same boat. It's not just me. It's not just I'm the bad guy and I've got I'm particularly bad and so that's why it happens to me. This is what it means to be in the world. And when you realize that, okay, you stop running.
Right.
You stop running and you start engaging. And okay, this is what it is. The thought came
Right.
to me, and now how am I going to deal with it?
It's almost like the real game begins once that recognition happens. Like he's going to show right now. I'm going to read again this. We're going to just end with this last paragraph. ובזה שהוא שולט על מחשבותיו והוא מכיר את ערכו, אז יכול לראות שהוא חי עם מציאות הסיבוס מפני שתכלית הבריאה שהאדם יכיר את ערכו, שהוא בבחינס בהמה, וכל חוכמתו היא מאיתו יתברך. Any chokhmah I have is not something I came to on my own. Even if I may have trained myself to pride myself in accomplishments, in its source, it's very dangerous to do that. Unless there's a hakara gmura the whole way, that it was Hashem that gave you the opportunity to accumulate whatever wisdom you have. And I love how this works because we just learned it in this parsha. וכמו שאברהם אבינו עליו השלום מצא אותו על ידי עבודתו והביא אותו לשפלותו. You know who felt like this? I'm going to say something that's going to sound so like chas v'shalom, biblical criticism. Not criticism, but like chas v'shalom, but it's actually really, really not the point. Do you think Avraham Avinu didn't have any machshavas zaras?
Of course he did. He was human. He defeated them.
The shaila is, what did he do with it? So he comes to the conclusion that, and what conclusion do we know that Avraham Avinu came to him about himself this last parsha? Vaanכי ואפר ואפר. Last Shabbos, this past Shabbos, right? He comes to, this is the first time we have this like hebet, we have this like insight into what did Avraham Avinu think about himself? And if ואנכי ואפר ואפר, that's what he came to. So he says over here, כמו שאברהם אבינו עליו השלום מצא אותו על ידי עבודתו, והביא אותו לשפלותו, כמו שאמר, ואנכי ואפר ואפר. You see, Avraham Avinu sets out on a journey. God, is he the frumest yid in the world? He's not even a yid, right? Or actually, by now he is a yid. But he's like the holiest, and everything's so amazing. And then Avraham Avinu on the journey must have felt when he begins to daven, the first time he davens for something. And what's the answer? No. Isn't that amazing? That's an amazing thing. You would think that once the answer was no, what would a rational person do? Yeah, Gamalnu, this is done. This is just, it's not going to work like this. I left everything. I'm asking to save some Rishayim. And you say no, shouldn't be. But the prelude to this whole story is Vanochi Afar Va'efer. Meaning I have a Yisraelus to daven over this. Chazal tell us, why did this awakening that he had to daven over his dome, where did it come from? Because he knew that the soul of Mashiach was somewhere here. And that's why he davened for his dome to be saved. At the end, Lot was saved and his daughters were saved. That's what the Malachim also were on the Shlichus. But because his Metzias was Vanochi Afar Va'efer, then Hashem saying no means nothing about who I am. Vanochi Afar Va'efer ve'az daika b'shifluto ra'a metziut shehi hasiba ha'ozeret lo al kol shitchei ha'chaim. This is unbelievable. It is dafka through this. I would say like this. Tell me if you think this sounds pretty far out, but we'll end with this. When did Avraham Avinu really understand who he was? When his davening for his dome wasn't answered. Because what does the pasuk tell us? But what does he do right after his davening wasn't answered? Va'Avraham shav limkomo. So he goes back to his muck. He goes back to his place, and he realizes, okay, I'm not leaving. I'm not neglecting everything. I'm not done with this Ribono Shel Olam, God forbid. Rather, what? From here, this makom now, I could start to really, really do avoda in this world on myself for real. This is a person that was already busy, Megayer Sagerim, she was Megayer to the Gerot, Nefesh Asher Asu Becharan, and yet Avraham Avinu realizes that he tastes ayin here like never before, and he's like, now I could do the other. Now I could really spring forth, and I would say like this, maybe this is why he was able to actually go through a nisayon like the Akedah. Only from the place of tasting ayin, after his tefillah to save Sdom was declined. On the surface at least, that's what it looks like.
According to what the Rav was saying on Shabbos is that his tefillahs were really answered. I mean, he was negotiating future storms.
That's al derech hadrash, but al derech hapshat, it wasn't answered. Al derech hapshat wasn't answered. He asked for Sdom to be saved. Hashem said no. And then he goes back to his place. Of course, al derech hadrash, he was able to be matzliach in the pnimius of what he was asking. Nachon? But on the derech pshat, the way we learn pshat is it wasn't answered. Nachon? Yeah, it wasn't answered. But that's actually opened all the gates for him to taste ayin in a way of real vanochi afar ve'efer, and then be able to then proceed with much more difficult tests in life, continuously going with the place of vanochi afar ve'efer. A simon for this is that his body was so afar ve'efer and ayin, was that when he had to do the Akedah, his body was such a state of ayin that the pasuk says, Vayishlach Avraham es yado. It's the diuk there. And the Siva Shalom has a beautiful mimer on this. Vayishlach Avraham es yado, vayikach es ha'ma'acheles lishchot es b'no. Avraham Avinu, it should have said, Vayikach tamach, it's like this. It's like saying like this. I'm going to send a message now to my hand to grab this cup, then I'll send another message to put it in my mouth, and then I'll send a message to swallow. It's all automatic, right? I'm not ayin. When it's ayin, when it's completely ayin, these limbs, this body, this behema is nothing on its own. But he has to do a tzivui of the boira that he doesn't understand. But he's in a state of ayin. So the Torah says he had to send a message from his das to his hand, Vayishlach Avraham es yado, Vayikach es ha'ma'acheles lishchot es b'no. Where did this come from? Vanochi afar ve'efer. So we'll continue to see, Be'ezrat Hashem, next week, how this beautiful and important letter progresses. And just like as a little bit of a sneak peek, obviously, the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur is going to be the greatest example for all of this. That the higher you are, and the closer you are to holiness, how do you know you're closer to holiness? The more that there's a sakana that you could fall. And that's why Dafka in the Kodesh Kodashim, there was a sakana that the Kohen Gadol would die. This just shows how this is built in such a beautiful way. We'll continue that on Monday. We'll be learning also Wednesday morning.